let's get to talking. Sit back and listen to BeefysBoxing.
Welcome to Beefy's Boxing, where we talk about the daily boxing news. I am no mastermind of the sport, just a big fan, hoping to build up a community and learn along the way, and I hope you join. Anyways, let's jump into today's video. Okay, so we gotta talk about Gareth and Spencer. Joyce showed up on talksport today, and he did an interview. And I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with Joyce, but his words and everything is just sounding worse. And he sounds worse than Chisora. And after watching this, it just pisses me off the way that GAD and Spencer, they just come off as very weaselly, knobbish, and cowardly because of all the shit that they will say off camera or around everybody else, but they won't say it to the person's face. The first issue I have is they don't challenge Joyce hard enough on the most important issues. After Joyce's latest stoppage and retirement style loss, the obvious hard question is, why should he continue boxing at all? Instead, the interview spends substantial attention on Joyce's explanation and future plans. That's especially questionable because Davis himself participated in the recent discussion asking whether it was the end of the road for Joyce. After Joyce asked the referee to stop the fight with, what was his name? Sislankov? I'm probably butchering his name. So if you genuinely believe Joyce's career has reached to the point where his health is a serious concern, why isn't the interview much more confrontational about his decision to return? And Spencer's treatment of Joyce looks especially inconsistent with his treatment of Chisora. This is the clearest documented contradiction I've ever seen between these two people. And this is after Chisora's 2021 loss to Parker. Spencer Oliver pleaded with the 37-year-old at the time Chisora to retire because he has worried that he would get hurt and that he's just taking too much damage at this point. And Oliver remained involved in covering Chisora's continued career. Here in 2025, talksport reported that Oliver had previously suggested retirement while Chisora continued fighting and was being discussed as a possible world title challenger. And in January of this year, 2026, in very positive terms, with talksport describing it as all things war Chisora. Chisora says, I'm continuing because I still want to fight. Joyce says, I'm continuing because I still want to fight. If the principle is the fighter knows his own body and should be allowed to make his own decision, then why was Spencer previously so forceful about Chisora retiring? And it seems like they have helped create this warrior narrative that now makes Joyce's situation harder to criticize. In 2022, Joyce beat Parker. Davis and Oliver were explicitly described as agreeing that Joyce was the real deal and could be a problem for the heavyweight division, putting him in there with the likes of AJ and Fury. That matters because Joyce's entire career has been built around the idea that his durability, toughness, and willingness to fight are virtues. But now, after years of that narrative, the consequences of that style are becoming much more harder to ignore. A fair interviewer should therefore ask, did the boxing media, including us, encourage Joyce to keep taking punishment because we celebrated his toughness for so long? That's a legit question that they should, be looking at themselves and asking. The Zhang rematch, it also deserves much more scrutiny. Joyce lost twice to Zhang in 2023. By July 2024, talksport described the upcoming Chisora fight as potentially decisive for Joyce's career, noting that the two Zhang defeats had cost him his unbeaten record and the WBO mandatory position. Yet the immediate Zhang rematch is a crucial part of the story. If Davis and Oliver are now concerned about Joyce's accumulated punishment, they should have acknowledged that the decision to put him straight back in there with Zhang was a major career management question. So it's hard to say, look how much damage Joyce has taken without also asking who kept putting him in these fights and why. The Chisora and Joyce comparison makes the double standard particularly obvious. This is the strongest argument I would make. When Joyce fought Chisora in 2024, talksport described Joyce as trying to rebuild after 2 defeats to Zhang, while Chisora was already 40 and coming off a win off of Gerald Washington. And they stated that another loss for Chisora would increase retirement talks. Chisora beat Joyce, yet Chisora subsequently continued his career, eventually reaching his 50th fight and fighting Wilder, and Davis and Oliver continued to cover it enthusiastically. So ask them, if Chisora can lose repeatedly, continue fighting, win a few fights, and get celebrated for his determination, why isn't Joyce, entitled to the same benefit of the doubt? I just can't stand how they just point to one fighter and say he needs to retire while trying to push this forward. After listening to the interview twice, Joyce sounds really, really bad. He doesn't sound all there. He sounds worse than Chisora, and that's a lot. That's saying a lot. And what's really just fucked up about this whole thing is just, the hypocrisy that they show. Davies and Oliver, they appear willing to respect Joyce's desire to continue because he's a beloved, tough veteran, but their own history shows that they've been perfectly willing to tell other veterans, specifically Chisora, that continuing was irresponsible. That's why this just seems very inconsistent standards from them. Spence actually has a documented history of telling Chisora to retire, while Davis and Spencer have subsequently enthusiastically covered Chisora's continued run. And in my opinion, Joyce needs to retire, and they should have had these words with him. And this isn't the end of Gareth and Spencer, because later they go on and they speak about AJ and Fury. And Gareth, he openly tells a lie. He speaks about how AJ is saying he needs another tune-up fight or warm-up fight, and Eddie Hearn has stated boldly, specifically, loudly, that AJ does not want another fight and that this contract is signed already. This is just another time of Gareth. I just don't like Gareth at this point. Homie is, 80 going on fucking 13 the way he dresses. He thinks that he's going to be like Ozzy Osbourne. And I still feel very uncomfortable anytime I see him around just younger people. And, that's just me personally having problems with him. But when it comes to his just professionalism, hypocrite and brown nose, and he's super biased. And he'll try to dress himself up like he's not biased, while completely exposing himself as being biased. But tell me your thoughts below. That's it for the video, guys. Remember, it's all about attitude. There is no progress without struggle, so stay in there. I've been your host, Mr. Beefy, and you all have been fantastic, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.
Sit back and listen to the beat.